Was going to say, yeah, was going to say just some really great sessions, really great sessions. So without further ado, I want to introduce our next speaker of the day. In fact, hang on a second. I think I've just completely messed that up. Hang on a minute. 1 second. Oh, there we go. That's much better. So yeah, speaker of the day. She's an award-winning author, and she has a book called Sell More. She's got 20 years experience teaching businesses how they can lead their teams and sell more. She is she's a sales expert in her own right. She's got a sales institute, and teaches a lot. She's actually been teaching a lot of businesses in 2020 about how they can double their revenue, okay, through the understanding of science and selling. So what I'm going to do, actually, in fact, before we do anything else, I want to make you a co-host, Peri. 1 second. Should be able to hear that. Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
I can hear you just fine.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Fantastic. Right. Okay, guys. Right. So what I want to do is I want to give Peri a real big whoop whoop. Right. You ready? So counting down in 3, 2, 1. Give Peri Shawn a big round of applause, please. Woo! All right. Good job. Good job. Make sure you mute yourselves, please. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please mute yourselves. Excellent. Oh, got one more. Fantastic. Very good. Very good. Excellent. So great to have you, Peri.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. We actually have, and I have to really, I really have to take my hats off to some people here, because we've got a big audience over in Malaysia, and I think it's about 3 o'clock in the morning there. So they are excited.
Wow.
Exactly, right? So as I say, Peri, short-term tax sacrifices for long-term benefit. I'm a big believer in that, right? And it's the weekend tomorrow, right? It's time to have fun. So, well, if you're not in lockdown, that is. So anyway, that's a whole new ball game anyway. So I want to start off by asking a number of different questions, because I know you've got some real big experience, 20 years experience in sales and marketing, sales and leadership. And I know that you came through Dr. John D. Martini and Elena. We have some really great conversations, which is fantastic. But I want to talk a little bit about science and selling, right? To me, when I thought about that, I was like, huh? I don't get it, right? But what does science tell us about why people buy and the sales behind it? Is that all right?
Yeah, by all means. And to me, one of the most important things for us to recognize is that most of the sales techniques that we have today are not based on the science of how actually somebody buys. And that to me is a key factor. So part of it is what actually happens inside of our brains when we make the decision to buy. And it starts with a large portion of our buying decision is complete before we even speak to someone. All right. So what does this mean? I would love to know from everybody, if you can put into the chat what it is that you actually sell. Okay. Because then I'll be able to give examples that are relevant to your world. All right. So just type in what it is that you sell, whether it's products or services, whatever that is, if you can just type it into the chat, and that'll give me some context. So what happens is that when your clients come to you, they already have a large portion of that buying decision complete. And part of our journey, it's not about convincing people to buy. That is an old mechanism that isn't based on science. Instead, what it is meeting them where they are in their buying decision, and then helping them with that remainder part of their decision. All right, great. Thank you for starting to share what it is that you sell. Yes, what do you sell? And so that recognition is one part of the research, okay? That they come with a large portion of the buying decision complete. And I will share with you shortly about ideally where you want to have your clients when they are coming to you. The other part of information that's really helpful to you is to know that people have actually made the decision unconsciously about buying before they are actually aware consciously that they've already decided to buy. So our job when we're selling our services or products is to be asking the questions to engage their brain, so that we are working with them rather than trying to do it to them. Because the more we get them talking, the more engaged their brain becomes, and the more conscious they become aware of the decision that they've already made. Sounds a little complex, our brain is, but the actions that we engage in are pretty simple to actually help someone make that decision to buy. And by doing these things and aligning with, it's not about trying to convince, as I've shared. Instead, it's about aligning with where they are in their buying decision and aligning your sales activities and what you do with their buying decision so that they come as far along as possible in that buying decision. Okay.
Very
Great.
cool.
I'm loving all the shares in the chat. So
yeah, listen, it's great because they've made a promise to me, Peri, by the way, right? What their promise is that they're going to turn up. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interactive, and whatever they take from the speakers, they're going to implement into their business. Is that right, guys? Give me some nods. Give me some yeses. Give me up. Give me a thumbs up. Right? They made that promise to me. They made that promise to themselves, and that's the reasons why they're here today. So
I love it.
Very cool.
That's great.
I would like to know more about the physiological side of stuff in the brain, because you've got the you've got, I suppose there's 4 parts of the brain, but is there a particular part of the brain, and I suppose this is kind of my left brain kicking in, just from
you want to get into details?
Yeah,
huh?
exactly.
All right.
Right? And it's interesting because John DeMartini was on yesterday, and was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, right? So, and that was a fascinating conversation because he talks a lot about the brain. Les Evans is a fellow Canadian, which Les, but through Clubhouse, because we have some conversations on there. And he was talking about the brain. But in terms of sales, right, what part of the brain is part of the buying decision? Is it the left part? Is it the right part? Is it a combination? Love to explore the physiological side of stuff.
And great question. And part of many people expect it to be isolated to one part of the brain. Just like, and it depends on what you're selling, but generally most people make their buying decision in the amygdala, but then they engage the remainder of the brain as you are asking the questions. Okay. So it becomes a whole brain activity. Ideally, by the time you finish, you want them in the frontal cortex so that they're actually using the higher decision-making processes, but to get them there, because the research shows over and over and over again, no matter whose research you're looking at. I have 4 neuroscience grad students that I've worked with that we comb through the research. And then what I do, because I have the opportunity, because I work with both entrepreneurs and with corporate, I get the opportunity that I learn this content. We go through it, tons and tons of it. And then what we do, and it all is based on, I want the research relevant to a conversation. All right. That's what's most important to me, whether it be on the phone or whether it be through a teleconferencing technology like we've got right now. And I'm looking at what impacts it. Okay. And then we test it in the corporate world with large sales teams. And why is that an advantage? The largest sales team I've worked with is 700. And what they do is that they track every single aspect of what they do when you get large sales teams. And so we're able to track, let's change one sentence of what you're doing and let's see what happens. Okay. And we can they measure the numbers by the hour in some cases, so that we can actually see immediately an uptake or a downturn in their results. And that's the reason why this is so pivotal. And it's the reason why I like to share it with entrepreneurs, because they don't have the ability to tap into this information that is happening in this, it's one is the research, and then the laboratory of the corporate world with their sales teams, because they really want to know what's working. And so to recognize that at the beginning of the conversation, the research shows over and over and over again that it's about engaging the brain emotionally first. Okay. And I'm going to break it down to one phrase if you want to take notes on this one phrase in particular. We buy on emotion, justified by logic. Now that's a phrase, or people have been hinting about it, but we now have solid research, neurological studies that demonstrate this over and over again. So what happens is, like for example, a consumer group, because I noticed we had someone involved in shoes, that what they, this consumer group called Mustada, what they did is they did a research project, and what they discovered is that the more emotionally engaged someone is, the more likely they are to buy. And that they are 4 times more likely to buy if they are emotionally engaged, and they are 2 times more likely to promote or refer and introduce you to somebody else. So again, that's about the emotional engagement, all right? There's another study that was done by Paul Zak and team with DARPA in the United States. And what they discovered was, and I thought this was really cool, because this is where you connect it to actually spending money, that they were actually able to predict how much money someone would donate to a charity based on how emotionally engaged they were based on their brain chemistry. So there's a direct correlation between the emotional engagement and someone's willingness to spend money. All right. And you may think, oh, well, what I sell is a real logical thing. Well, I have worked with teams that sell, let's see, environmental engineering or legal services or high-end scientific research that they're selling to others. And I will often hear from them, oh, well, logic is far more important. And they argue with me about the logic. And the reality is, what I often say in those situations, I say, aren't you getting kind of emotionally engaged about the logic of this? And so there's still emotional engagement. What is it? How does this serve the individual? Because you really want to put your hat on of understanding things from their position. All right. I'm also about mindset in a big way. And I'm going to sort of switch a little bit to the mindset aspect.
Sure.
Because go ahead, Adam. Did you want to say something?
No. I was going to say, sure.
So the mindset aspect is also you emotionally, okay? Because you're in a dynamic where they're on an emotional place and you are too. So we've got an emotional soup in this dynamic between you. So it's important for you to be aware of your emotion because it can influence theirs. So to me, I refer to that as your client presence, all right? Because if you are having emotional, I'll call them charges. If you heard Dr. DeMartini, you'll understand what I mean by that. And so you will have experiences that prevent you from being present to your client and what's going on for them emotionally. And it might be something with regards to money or a concern about sales, because sales, my first career in life, I was a high school teacher. And when I would go to social events and someone would ask what I do when I would meet them for the first time, they would sort of lean into the conversation. And then when they find out now that I'm in the world of sales, they sort of lean back. All right. And so a lot of people have this misconception. I mean, what's the research? The research says 69% of the population has a negative connotation of sales. And when you think about it, that means that even because what the world is made up of, I mean, the majority of people are in a sales position. All right. So that means even the people who are salespeople have a negative connotation of salespeople. They think of the research shows this 69%. The instant image that they get is a used car salesperson. So here I'm going to give you a definition for sales that might be helpful to you. That sales is about helping people with their buying decision.
Yeah.
Okay. This matches the neuroscience. It's not about twisting arms to slam dunk a clothes. Instead, it's about helping them with their buying decision. If you take on the behaviors that match that, because I believe how we define things informs our behavior. So if you take on that definition and engage in those behaviors, here's what happens. You get more repeat business and you get more referral business. And that, I can say for 20 years, my business has been based on that, and it has generated millions of dollars because of it.
Wow.
So.
Pretty cool stuff, guys. I was going to, interestingly enough, because I find this subject quite fascinating, actually, and I concur about the whole kind of car salesman thing. I used to think that, by the way. I don't know about you guys, but did you ever think that when she said, "Oh, used car salesman," because that was the thing that I came into my head. But also, I kind of I don't know if you've ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street, but that kind of came into my head as well when think about, conning people or, like scamming people or whatever it might be. But for me, interestingly enough, sales is about opportunity. That's how I see sales now. Do you know what I mean? Jill Mullins put Arthur Daly. So there's a sitcom, Peri, called Only Fools and Horses. It's a British sitcom with a guy called David Jason. And it's back, I suppose it was in the 80s. It was extremely popular. And it was, it was a bit, I suppose in a way it was just, it was trying to sell it was trying to sell sand to the Arabs, essentially, and just go around trying to hustle and say, oh, this is going to do this and this is going to do this. Is just kind of funny, actually. But anyway, that's just a whole new conversation.
Yeah.
But anyway, how does the science apply to sales strategies in particular?
Okay. So when you're looking at the sales strategies, and I'm going to say the activities that you actually engage in to get clients, okay? Because you would have I call it a sales model. And what I often do is work with organizations or individuals to help clarify what theirs is. And here's what I've discovered in most cases. Most people are engaged in sales activities that together make up their sales strategy. And what they're doing quite often is engaging in behaviors or activities that don't allow someone to move further along in their buying decision. So that, to me, is the key factor. So let me just give you an example.
Sure.
So if somebody, let's say, uses cold calling as part of their process, as one of their sales activities, when you cold call someone, where they are in their buying decision in general, okay, is at 0 point.
Absolutely.
So that means you have this far to take them in the sales conversation in order to help them get there. Whereas if they come from your website, they're at that 50% mark of their buying decision complete. All right. Now, if you do additional things to your website to help move them further along, you might get them as far as 75%.
Right.
And so part of it is ideally, and here's where you really want someone. You want someone between 75 to 100% of their buying decision complete before you get on the phone or on Zoom or whatever technology you use to communicate. Or if it's face-to-face, but it depends on what part of the world you're in. And so, if you are at the 75, you really want to work to as close as to 100% of that buying decision complete as possible. And I refer to that as a spectrum of buying. And to me, my goal when I have my conversations with my clients, they're usually at about 100%. We're just working on the logistics, and that's ideally where you want it to be. That's a very efficient sales process.
Sure. Because
otherwise you're engaged in so many things. So there's someone who I'm working with. I'll give you an example. And since most of us it looks like most of us are entrepreneurs from what I'm seeing in the description of what you do.
Sure.
So this particular entrepreneur, she's the mother of 4 children and has a high value in spending time with her kids. All right. But she's created a business with sales activities where if this is, 100% at this end, and this is 25%, what's happening is she's got them in here. Or she did. And that meant that she had a long way to take them in that buying decision. So what we did is we revamped her sales strategy so that the activities she was engaging in brought them closer to the end of their buying decision, so that her conversations were much shorter. She had set a goal for this year to that was a 7-figure goal. And we really worked on making sure she engaged in those activities in December and in January. She just informed me, what day are we today? 2 days ago on Wednesday, that she is 3/4 of the way to her goal in terms of the contract she has.
Wow.
Simply by changing the sales strategy that she's engaging with, by making sure she's moving people further along before she has that conversation with them. And that makes a huge difference. And the other part that's really great about it is that she's bought herself back some time, because she's so much more efficient now that she has more time to be able to spend with her children at this point, which is a high value. She's an expert in her field. And so things that we need to think about, because to me, when we're developing our sales strategy, we want to not only think about the generation of revenue, but we want to think about the effort that it takes for us to generate that revenue. Because there's one thing about what we offer, but there's the other thing about how do we sell what we offer. And we don't want to make that laborious and more difficult. We want to make that as streamlined and effective, as efficient as possible.
Very cool. Very good. Can I, interestingly, I actually want to ask a question to the audience, and I want you to be truthful with me, because this is a safe place, and this is about transparency and about helping you guys. Who here struggles with sales? Who here struggles to sell? I'd just be curious to know. If you do, fantastic. If you don't, then no worries. I'd just be interested to know, out of the audience, if you really struggle to sell. All right, cool. We got a couple of people here. Peter Ong from Malaysia. And Jill Mullin.
Can I piggyback on that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I ask an additional question to that? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being that you're outstanding at it, and 0 being you're not so great, what number would you give yourself?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, this gives me some context, which is awesome. Thank you for sharing the numbers. That's great.
4, 5.
Yes, I'm very much of a conversational tone. Exactly. But and to me, it's about being present, so that you are actually able to have them share the things that are most important to you. Okay, yeah. To them. Sorry. And excellent. I love it.
It's interesting how, and I was just looking at the scores there, how low that they perceive themselves as, I mean, for me, like, my belief is, so when we put this summit on, for example, Peri, as you know, no one here has anything to sell. Like, literally no one has anything to sell. We give our value, we give our time. If you want to connect with us and you want to do business, let's have a conversation to see if it's a good fit. That's how it works, right? And it's just interesting to see those numbers, and because I think most of them didn't even get above a 6, right? Just looking at those numbers, mm-hmm. It's really interesting, right?
No, nothing above a 6.
Do you find that quite common when you're having conversations or sort of sharing this with entrepreneurs? Do you find that a very common pattern?
Yes, I find that most entrepreneurs are not good at sales. And when I actually ask them to have a conversation with me and say, all right, let's, because I do these as part of my program, sell me your product. And I will surprise them, and I will turn around and sell them their product. And they're shocked at how different it is, because one, I'll share an example. I do this also with the organizations that I sell their product to. So before COVID, about 6 months before COVID, I was with a group, and it's a highly technical world. I mean, for me to be able to have the knowledge that their salespeople have, I would have to go to university
Wow.
to be, for at least one degree. Okay, and that's how they were brainiacs, very, very smart. And so we had the sales team from all across the country, and we were in a retreat together, and I was teaching them how to sell through the process, which is conversational, using the neuroscience of how people actually buy. And when we got to the part where I was doing the demo, where I was selling their product, now remember, I don't understand their business. Okay, there's no way in a million years I could, and the boss knew that. And I said, I make sure I do, in those kind of circumstances, I make sure I let them know I do not have your knowledge, and you are the expert at what you do. I'm the expert at selling. And so here we are, sales team all around. We've got a mic for me and a mic for one of the sales team, the top sales guy.
Yeah.
And as we're having, and I'm selling him their product, and the team is listening. And when we finish, we do a debrief, and each person shares what they noticed, or what was different for them, or what was the major aha. And what kept on coming up was, one, I asked so many questions. Two, there was a lot of silence in the room. And that to them was surprising, because quite often we want to fill silence. But it's real important. This is a decision-making process. And so therefore, you want to give time and space for them to be able to think and to be able to process their thoughts out loud. And then the other thing that that was mentioned by the group is that, let's see, that I asked one question at a time. Because they were saying, oh, I asked like 2 questions usually. And it's like, no. The brain can only take 1 question at a time, wait for the response, and then go to the next question.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example if you'd like, Adam, in terms of, I sometimes give presentations to CEO groups. And afterwards, one of the, well, actually several of them, but this one in particular, she asked to have a conversation with me afterwards. And so during our conversation, so she's seen me present and talk about these concepts. And during the conversation, as we're chatting, and we're 25 minutes into the conversation, something like that. And we had booked an hour to understand, what's going on in her organization. And she says to me, she says, stop. And I said, is everything okay? I thought something was happening at her end. And she said, no. She said, I just want to say how much I'm loving this. And I said, oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying this. And she said, I've been keeping track of the number of questions you've been asking me. And I said, oh, have I been asking too many? And she said, no. She said, I am so appreciating this because I feel like you understand my business and you understand what's important for me. I said, great. And she said, do you want to know how many you've asked so far? I said, sure. And she said, 41. And I said, oh, I didn't realize that it was that many. And she said, yes. And this is exactly what I want my team. I said, do you want me to stop? And she said, no, keep on going. I'm really loving this. So to me, the other part is we typically don't ask enough questions. And that to me, we go to solution before we understand the problem, because everyone typically buys. It's very rare for somebody buy out of inspiration. Okay, that's the frontal lobe. Most people will buy out of emotion, which is in the amygdala, and that requires for us to truly understand the problem before we go to solution. Okay?
Yeah, very cool. Listen, I'm a big fan of practical application, Peri. Okay. And and we're going to take questions at the end, guys. So I just wanted to tell you that. So I was just taking a browse through some of the comments when we asked the question between 1 and 10, how do you feel your sales is? And there was one particular person that really jumped out on me. And I'd really like to be able to take them from a 2 to maybe a 6, if it's possible. Maybe we could create a scenario. What do you reckon, Peri?
Sure.
All right, cool.
Let's
So
do it.
this person knows who they are because I'm staring right at them. Okay, so Peter Ong, can you hear me? Can you wave? Perfect. I'm going to now unmute you. You are now going to be, guys, this is really important because I want you to take notes about what's about to happen, okay? All right, off you go, Peter.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Peter. Great to meet you.
Peri.
And remind me, because I've seen the feed, what is it that you sell?
Basically, I'm selling like online courses for the like whiteboard animation video.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. Sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
So I do the Facebook advertising. Then when the customer come, then when they say the price is quite high, then okay, I just sometimes I just didn't ask further. Then they just left, so didn't become customer.
Okay. So, and you're selling it to whom?
To anyone who like to use the tools to build their business. Yeah.
Okay. So are you selling it to like entrepreneurs? Are you selling it to speakers? Are you selling it to consultants? We'll just narrow it down. We know what we're working with.
Entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Okay, great. And it doesn't matter what industry that they're in, it can be any?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just needed to understand that context, Adam, just before we jump in.
It's always good.
Yeah, great. So Adam, did you have the next, I just want to turn it to you to be able to.
Okay, so because I was writing notes down, that's why I go silent. So for me, I'm also a student, guys, right? Even though I like to ask questions, I like to make notes, and that's why I have my big black book. So I hope you have the same. So I think what I'd like to do, right, with you, Peter, right, is, and just kind of, and this is me, and perception is reality at the end of the day, right? You get a first impression on someone in the first 5 seconds. And for me, what comes across is, and maybe Peri, you feel the same, is a lack of confidence. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to create a scenario where Peri has maybe come across you and she's interested in what you have to offer for her. What I'd like to do is I'd like you, Peter, to be able to have a conversation with Peri and to be able to explore the opportunity to be able to maybe even explore in terms of being able to sell something to her. So I'd like to be able to maybe have this conversation. Do you think you could do that for us?
Yes.
Very good.
Great.
Peri, you up for this?
I'm up for this. And can I give Peter a little bit of context that might help him in terms of what to do in the process?
Let's do that. Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. So Peter, I'd like to suggest that you think about it as 3 parts of the conversation. Okay. So the first part of the conversation, you're going to ask me questions to understand the pain or the problems that I'm facing. Okay. And then the next part of the conversation, number 2, is where once I've shared enough and you've got me emotionally engaged, then you switch to telling me about the depth of your experience that relates to what I've shared, okay? And you do it in no more than 4 sentences, because once you get past 4 sentences, you will lose that the person's mind does not focus and sales go down, okay? Yeah. And then after that, then you help me with the remainder of the buying decision to find out where I am in that process, okay?
Does that sound good? We clear with everything, Peter?
Yes, sure.
All right. So if you have any questions before we get started, you have any questions first?
Okay.
Okay. So I leave it over to you then.
Okay, Peri. So do you encounter that anything that you want to get more clients to more attract your client to buy your product?
Yes, there's actually a particular product that we're just launching that I'd love to have more clients for.
So do you use any tool that to get more client, to attract your client to become your customer?
Right now, we're using Facebook ads, and the Facebook ads are not getting us the kind of results that I would like. And notice now you've got the problem, so you want to spend some time there.
Yeah. So actually now I have a tool that can solve your problem, which is a whiteboard animation video. So you can create the video to attract your client.
Can I interrupt? I'm going to stop you because you've gone to solution before you found out what my problem is. So spend more time on the problem before you start going there. Okay. So ask me some more questions.
So what is anything that you want to get more client beside the Facebook advertising that you can have get more your clients?
Okay. Can I give you some more guidance, Peter? Is it okay?
Pardon?
Can I give you some more guidance on that one? Would it be helpful? So when someone shares that they have a problem, you want to understand that problem in more detail, okay? So you don't want to switch topics to something else. You want to stay in that place because that will help you immensely. So in that dynamic, what can you ask to get me more emotionally engaged in the fact that they're not getting the results I would love?
So what do you think why the Facebook advertising didn't get you the result to get more customer?
Yeah, it didn't get me the results I'm looking for.
So do you find any solution to get more better clients?
Say that again?
Do you use any other method that to get more clients beside the Facebook advertising?
Okay, great. And again, I would stay in the Facebook issue. Would you like me to demonstrate what I would do in your shoes if I was selling your product? Yeah. Okay. So are you okay, Adam, that we switched?
Absolutely, 100%. It's all good.
Okay.
But before we get started, actually, guys, listen, this is like first class coaching and mentoring. I hope you're taking notes because I'm scribbling like crazy. Go.
Okay. So Peter, you mentioned the Facebook ads are giving you challenges. Do you know what specifically it is that's the problem?
Maybe it's the targeted audience issue.
Okay. So it sounds like you're not sure. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No question.
And notice what I'm doing, he's getting frustrated because I'm getting him to talk about what's the problem, okay? So, and Peter, what kind of results are you actually getting from your Facebook ads right now?
Currently, I spend a lot, maybe few $100 but only get 1 or 2 inquiry.
Okay, so you got 1 or 2 inquiries for that much money, and what were you hoping for?
Hoping for get more targeted audience that to want to buy my products.
Okay, and did you have a certain, was there a number that you were aiming for?
So at least 20 inquiry per $100 I spend.
Okay. Okay. So how far off are we from the results that you wanted then?
Currently, it's only 2 or 3 inquiry. Then some they ask price. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're only getting what, 10% of what you were hoping for. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And and I'm assuming you're not the one doing the ads right now. Is that correct? Someone else is doing them for you?
I do it myself.
Ah, okay, great. And so, and good for you that you've taken that on. Question: when you are doing the ads, and notice what I'm doing now is I'm transitioning to help him recognize that he doesn't have the knowledge to be able to do it. Okay, so So Peter, what's your strategy that you're using currently for your Facebook ads?
Conversion and traffic.
Okay, and are you using, like, for example, other strategies in the next level down, or?
No,
Sorry?
currently only use conversion and traffic to get more clients.
Okay. So would it be helpful if I share an example of what I've been able to do with some of our clients per se, dynamically?
Yeah.
Okay. So part of what we've done is we've developed a strategy. I'm just going to, whatever the Peter Facebook strategy process. And when we use it, what we've been able to do, because we work and drill down not only to the influencer, but we're looking at a lookalike audience, and we're also demonstrating, I'm just pulling it out of the hat, whatever it is inside. Our last client came in with results that were at 15% of what they wanted. Within a matter of a couple of weeks, we were at double what they wanted as their target. And he said, I'm going to be introducing you to all my friends as a result. So, for you, those strategies that I mentioned, are there things that you've ever tried before?
No.
Okay. Now, is it something that you're wanting to look at working with someone else at this particular time?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And for at the moment, what are you using as your decision-making criteria?
They will buy my course, and then they will start to implement it.
Okay, so you would want to buy my course to work with someone on their Facebook so that they can work on your Facebook ads? I'm a little confused at my end.
Okay.
Because I'm you right now. You're the client. We switch. Anyway, you get the idea. And you know what I would do, Peter, probably in your world, which I think would be so important, is to actually get the person to open up their Facebook so that you could see what they're doing. And then you know what questions to be asking them, so that you can help, because people buy out of a void, that they feel like they're missing something. And when you see what they're doing with their Facebook ads, then you'll be able to have that conversation. Like, I was just pulling ideas out of a hat. It would be great if you could have specifics to be able to say that this is part of the Peter, Facebook ad strategy or whatever. And I find that it's really helpful to have a process that you define really carefully inside your sales process. But I mean, we didn't have a lot of time for a demo in terms of dynamic, but you get the concept that the first part of the conversation, you're asking those questions. Stay in the problem as much as possible. Don't switch to another topic until you complete the one. And the one is usually all they really need, okay, to make the decision. Sometimes we think we need to talk a lot for somebody to make the decision. We don't, and that's the reason why the questions help reduce it, so that it's a tighter decision making. And also the how can I say, the larger the business, often I find the quicker the decision making. So that's an interesting factor too.
Very interesting factor.
Yeah. Depending on who you're speaking in the organization, but as a general rule, because if the person is the decision maker, it will happen quickly. If they are an influencer, it'll take longer. Yes. So that's the reason why you want to be speaking to the decision maker per se.
Very cool. So Peter, I've got a question for you. How's your confidence levels? Is it gone from a 2 to where's it gone from a 2 to what? Has it increased?
6 of 6, yes. Definitely.
Great.
Good.
We need to get you just practicing some more. And that's the thing I also recommend, Peter, that you do a lot of practice, because too often we're practicing on clients and that's not a good thing. I will, in our company, I will often, like on the corporate side, it'll be high stakes meetings. We will have meetings where they buy large training programs. And when we have those kinds of conversations, we're practicing. We do a lot of thought processes and analysis before we actually have the meeting. And then we do a debrief afterwards. You know, what is it that we did well? What did we do that we could improve upon? And what are we going to do differently next time, so that we can strategize and continually work on improving. I do self-reflection after every single conversation with a client, because it's not about all of a sudden you've got the skills and it's done. It's like anything, like an athlete, what do? They train so that they're ready for the event. I'm continuing to ask questions, practice, know what I'm going to say so that it flows off the tip of my tongue in the moment. So it's like when you watch a soccer player, they're not thinking about kicking the ball, they're getting in there and acting right away. And that's what the practice is about. Will allow you to actually be present in the conversation and not thinking about it, because you want this to be such that it's a natural, casual conversation, not something that's formalized. And it doesn't matter what level of sales you're in, you still want that aspect to it. Okay.
Love it.
No matter what the circumstances.
Very cool. Very cool. Listen, I want to, oh, by the way, Theta, I hope you got some value from that. I hope that was good. And you got some,
yes, definitely it helped me. Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Great.
Listen, guys, I want to ask you a quick question. Is this good stuff? I want to know if this is good stuff. Give me a yeah. Or if it's a nay, then you can put nay as well. It's all good. I hope that you're getting some good notes from this, because this is like, I told you this will be world class, right? So listen, we've got a few more minutes. That's it. And then we move into Marshall Goldsmith. But listen, I want to offer any questions. If you guys have any questions for Peri before she goes, because I know she's very, very busy. If you have any questions around sales, the science behind sales and stuff like that, put either in the comment section, the icon, the thumb up icon, or wave like a madman or mad woman or whatever it is that you want to try and do to get to my attention. And we'll ask Peri in the time that we have. So let me just quickly bring up here. Oh, you're welcome, Peter. That was a great session. And it's interesting, Peri, that you mentioned about the whole kind of, and Peter was a great guinea pig. I'm going to call him a guinea pig because it was a great example of someone that basically jumps in with their solution too quickly. And then, do you know what I mean? And then you think to yourself, you start like when the customer or the client turns around and says, I don't know, say for example, it was Peter selling to you or whatever it is, they turn around and they start thinking to themselves, oh, what's wrong with me? And then you go through this emotional blackmail, right? Do you know what I mean, Peri? But actually, you know what? All it is about exploring the possibility to answer more questions, to build up trust and understanding. Is that right?
I'm with you 100%.
All right, good. Lisa, that's good. I feel great about myself. I really appreciate that. Okay, what's this? Okay, active listening is important. Absolutely, Jill. Active listening is important. And I noticed, did you notice between the conversation between Peter and Peri that there was a lot of great listening and pause, not sort of jumping in and interrupting, pausing. And I think that's important. What do you think? How important is sort of breathing and sort of letting the dust settle before you jump into the next question, Peri?
It's like you're having a conversation with a friend. The same thing. You're not talking over one another. You're waiting for the person to finish before you jump in. And I'm also waiting for him to process his thinking so that then we can move to the next thing. It's not about an interrogation. You know, we're not interrogating. What we're doing is being present to their decision making, and that's a different kind of conversation.
Absolutely. Okay, so Matthew asked, how do you go about understanding your ideal client or customers? Do you put time aside to get to know them before approaching them with a sales pitch? Because would they appreciate that you put time aside to understand their pain and problem?
Okay. I think I hear multiple aspects in the question.
Yeah, and
so,
yeah,
in one. So we'll try and hit each one. How do I go about understanding my ideal client or customer? One of the things, I do a fair amount of research before, depending on the circumstances. Sure. Okay. There's the tool that we have used. Actually, it was introduced to me by one of these, one of the chairs of one of these CEO organizations that I speak for sometimes. And I walked into the room and I had not met this person before. And he said to me, he says, "Peri, I know I already like you and we're going to have a great day." And I went, "How do you know that you like me already?" He said, "Crystal Nose told me." And I said, "What do you mean? What's Crystal Nose?" And he showed me on his computer that he had this profile of me up. And what it is it searches through all the algorithms within social media to find out who you are. Uses a disc profile. And it lets you know about who that person is and how to best communicate with them. And then I said, "Oh, wow." And he said, he says, "Is this you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." And so it tells you how to communicate, whether to go abstract or concrete, or what their highest values are, you know, that kind of thing, so that you know how to manage the conversation. And then he pulled up on his screen, he says, "Shh, don't tell my wife. But what you can do with the technology is you can put two people side by side and find out how well they get along, and you get a score." And he said, "You and I get a higher score than my wife and I, but shh, don't tell her." And so, yeah, exactly. And so, so to me, the technology is kind of cool. That really can help in that regard. Okay, so then do you put time aside to get to know them before approaching them with a sales pitch? Okay, so first off, you're going to think I'm a bit of an anomaly. I don't believe in a sales pitch. And I've even been part of the faculty for the Dragon's Den Business School, all right? And which is all about pitching. But I don't believe that pitching is the way to go, because the pitching assumes that they haven't already made a large portion of their buying decision, okay? So instead, for me, I spend the conversation getting to know them and what are their biggest problems. When somebody understands their biggest problems and you help them with that, all of a sudden you are a great friend and ally of that individual. Okay. Then next, people do appreciate that you take the time to understand their problem. I remember a few years back with one of our large corporations that we work with, and then going into a new division, and they were interviewing somebody else. And the somebody else came in and said, "Well, in order for us to start a project, we need this much money down. Then we'll start to research and get to know your people." We came in and said, "Let's talk about you. What's going on and what's the issue that you're having and what kind of outcomes would you like?" And as we had that conversation, they talk about it publicly at conferences, etc. That was the differentiator, was that we wanted to understand them before we asked for money. And it has led to a wonderful, deep relationship that I'm truly grateful for, and has led to a lot of revenue from that conversation. So I hope that's helpful.
Awesome. I was going to say, guys, we are running out of time because we have the next session going to be starting very, very shortly. But listen, we could talk all evening, right? We could talk all evening, and sales is such a big, humongous topic to talk about, right, Peri? Wouldn't you agree?
Yes. It is.
So first of all, I just want to say, and this is our first collaboration and working together, and it's great that we and you know we and I feel that we've got some great energy here, and I think it's great to see, and it's just great, and I hope that you guys are getting some great value from it. So I just want to say a big thank you to you, Peri, for being on today's Game Changer Summit. Really appreciate your time today. And what I'm going to do with you guys is I'm going to unmute all of you so that you can give Peri a big round of applause. Ready? In 3, 2, 1. Big round of applause, please. Peri Shawn! Woo!
Woo! Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh.
Thank you,
All
Peri.
right.
Thank you.
Good job, guys. Listen, make sure that you connect with Peri on social media as well. I'm sure that she'll be happy to connect with you. And we're going to be finishing this session now. Marshall Goldsmith is on in 4 minutes, guys. Make sure that you don't forget that. So we'll see you in 4 minutes. Make sure you check your emails for the right link, and we'll see you in 4 minutes. Take care, Peri.
Bye, everyone. Great to meet you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.